Alright, I wasn't planning to make a video today, and then it was brought to my attention that there was a video on YouTube about Yu-Gi-Oh! Investing, which is not exactly my expertise, but I know a bit. I've dabbled. And a few people reached out and said this was, at the risk of sounding flamey, quite bad or wrong. And I don't want to judge anyone without actually seeing it myself. So this is from a channel. They are called TCG Buzz. I definitely have not watched any of their other content prior to going into this video. So what I will tell you is check them out. They may be your thing. You know, give them a sub, give them a like if you enjoy their content. I certainly wouldn't want to, you know, shit on another creator. But I do anticipate, based on a few things that I saw going through this, that there's going to be some questionable content here. So to set the scene just a little, before I actually start the video, basically, it seems as though there's a gentleman who does this video weekly, monthly, whatever, and occasionally has rotating guests. He brought a guest on to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Investments and the game as a whole, who is a quote-unquote expert. That's a subjective term, I suppose, but we'll see how much of an expert he is as we go in. So I'm going to sort of start the video out and just get the first, like, minute or two of it out there, and then kind of highlight some points as I go along, because I don't want the video to be 7,000 hours long, but let's see if it's going to completely tilt me off my rocker, or maybe this guy's going to have some super valid points about the game that I didn't think. So let's jump into it, and I'll interject at points as we go along here.
Join Dalton and Jacob as they discuss the ever-changing world of trading card games. TCG Buzz starts now.
Hello and welcome to TCG Talk. My name is Jacob and I'm joined by Brody today.
Hi, guys.
Because I couldn't get anyone cooler.
Oh, okay, fine. I'll leave.
So, Brody
I don't know if that joke was supposed to hit the mark or not, but that's fine.
is here to join me because we're going to continue our series discussing investing in card games. But specifically, we're going to be talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Today.
Oh, you mean the train wreck?
Yeah, that's one word for the show.
You're getting right into it, huh? Because I really wanted to have this discussion because there's some very good things I want to say and some very bad things I want to say about this card game, particularly when it comes to investing in long-term value in your collection. So, I had Brody join me today because you are a long-term Yu-Gi-Oh! Player.
Yes, I've been on and off since about...
longer-term mental patient.
Oh, that's not wrong. I mean...
Okay, I don't know if that joke was supposed to hit the mark, but...
You would think since 2002, you know, I would have psychological professional help, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't helping that.
So, we're going to start with the simple question. Is Yu-Gi-Oh! A good thing to invest in?
Oh, heck no!
Who put you on the planet?
Asterisk.
I see we are off to a completely riveting start to this. Let's see why, though, because arguably Yu-Gi-Oh! Does have a lot of investment issues with cards being reprinted, rotated, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a terrible investment. And we're looking at this objectively, not saying is it the best of the card games to invest in, because I think the majority of us know that that's probably not true. So let's see the logic behind it.
Some citation needed.
Let's start with the fundamentals here. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is number one not a good game to invest in because of its heavy reprint policy. And that is because I think it's kind of a side effect of the fact that, one, it's one of the top three biggest card games around, and two, because of the fact that it has no rotation like other card games do. Because of that, 6 years after a card comes out, you might still need it for your deck, so they're going to reprint it.
Hey, it's kind of like, it reminds me of, you know, Card Fight, and, you know, Cran Tiger has only had one printing, and it's like a $23, like, double rare for no reason.
So how does it remind you of that is my question. I don't follow Vanguard up to speed. I know Double Rare is essentially their equivalent of what Super Rares used to be here. But that correlation doesn't exist. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Reprinting cards over time so they're more accessible to the player base, which also, for the record, doesn't typically impact the price of it as much as, say, in something like Pokemon, where a non-Charizard card gets rotated out and is no longer playable, and it will sink immensely if it's no longer within standard. But I don't understand the point he's making here. This is a Vanguard. It has no real relevance on anything, so I don't really understand where he's, like, coming from with this point at all. But let's give him a little bit of time to flesh it out.
If something is overvalued in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it's sought after, it's going to get reprinted. Whereas...
Someone tell that to Air Neos.
generally, Magic's got some problems with reprints as well, but not nearly as severe yet. But also, you have sets rotating out and not being available after a while. And generally, the reprint policy is a lot lighter. It's generally only the cream of the cream of the cream of the top that gets reprinted within just a couple of years. Then you have Pokemon.
I'm fairly certain Magic has reprinted Force of Will like 75 times in the past 4 years, but that's fine.
Which doesn't reprint anything ever. They
I'm fairly certain that's not accurate.
do, but only in the short term, because everything rotates out, so you never bother with it. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is very, very reprint friendly, which for most players is a good thing. However, that does mean long-term value in your card collection will always go down.
Plummet.
Every time. I've seen people who get crazy into Yu-Gi-Oh! For just a set or two. Maybe they find one particular archetype they like, and they just go crazy and buy a ton of packs or whatever, and they just load up a binder of just that.
Okay, so let's stop here. He's saying the equivalent to gambling by buying a bunch of packs. So a new set comes out with an archetype you like, you buy a shit ton of packs, you're probably going to lose money on that investment. Yes, that's a valid point, but it's kind of misleading to me because the game itself is not requiring you to buy packs in order to play. If you're a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh player, or even someone who plays at a local level, you can go online and buy the singles for a lot less money than you'd spend just buying a ton of packs trying to chase them down. Unless you were going for something like Dogmatica or something current that's like got a lot of high-end secret rares, you might spend a bit of money, but you'd have to get insanely lucky just to be able to pull the stuff you need, and it's realistically not worth the investment, which is why I always say unless it's a set that you can kind of guaranteed make your money back on, like a Toon Chaos when it was, you know, first released, there's no sense in buying the packs unless you want to, unless you're okay with the risks that come along with it, and you know that you may not hit on that. You want to open the packs for fun, that's fine. Or you open packs for YouTube, that's fine. But going out and buying packs to build a deck just to fill your binder is almost guaranteed to be a loss investment in any game. This is not investing, this is gambling. Those are two different things. That's frustrating. I get the point they're ultimately trying to make in the sense that, yes, you go out and buy packs and you're going to lose money, but that doesn't, that's like comparing apples to oranges. That's not, if you go out and buy packs of Magic, you're going to lose money. I don't care if it's a good set or not. I mean, you're spending hundreds of dollars on sets like Double Masters or even some of the older Masters sets. They're not cheap, even when they release, but after a little while, when they go out of print or whatever term you want to use, they're instantly going to be more expensive, and you're not always going to hit on something out of them. So yes, that's true. Buying packs does cause you to lose money 90% of the time unless you have insane luck. Valid. This is a bit of rambling here, so I'm going to skip on to about the 5-minute mark here, and we'll jump into the next hot take.
Yu-Gi-Oh cards just don't hold up well to time, generally. The number of times I've seen someone do a retro pack opening where they just take a special edition from 10 years ago, whatever, and open it, and the cards are like this.
Can we run that one more time?
Time, generally. The number of times I've seen someone do a retro pack opening where they just take a special edition from 10 years ago, whatever, and open it, and the cards are like this.
Okay, so you mean they physically don't hold up well to time, because you're talking about 2010, which is about 10 years ago, so, okay, so maybe the Extreme Victory special editions aren't that fun to open. But again, kind of a misleading statement, because they don't hold up to time if they're shitty sets that sit on shelves and just have tons of exposure to light, being moved around, thrown around, heat, wherever it is that they're stored. Yu-Gi-Oh! Definitely holds up well to time. Case in point. Blue Eyes White Dragon DDS. $1,750 is a sold listing from about 4 days ago. Time-wise, the longer this card exists, the more value it gets. And I understand, yes, technically it's an anomaly, right? So Blue Eyes as a whole is a popular card, and just like Pokemon has Charizard, these other sets, you're going to have your outliers. But to say cards don't hold well to time, well, let's look up Ghost Rares in general. Ghost Rares, older cards, were very affordable for a while. If you look through Ghost Rares now, almost all of them have value, and the as low as here can be kind of misleading because you could be looking at cards that are damaged, not in good condition. Like even here to see Star Eater at $44 as a low, you know, these are all moderately played. When you start getting into near mints and things like that, the values go up significantly. I understand the counterpoint to my statement here would be, well, yeah, these are chase cards, not every set has chase cards, blah, 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 but first of all, Starlights have been introduced, which have significantly increased the value of Yu-Gi-Oh sets over time. It's anything from Rising Rampage onward. I mean, whether it's sealed product or if you're investing in Starlights themselves, yes, they will fluctuate, but as long as the game itself remains popular, those cards have a high ceiling. And two, there are a lot of cards from older sets and even OTS Ultimate Rares or AP Ultimate Rares that are sort of mixed in that do have value and maintain that value over time. People start buying out Ultimates. People start buying out Ghost Rares. They go up. Not every card in every set is going to go up. A common Mareep from XY Breakthrough in Pokemon is not going to be a $100 card after 10 years, whether it warps or not. Pokemon is more noticeable, so you got your Charizards, and you got your EXs, and you've got your retro sets that are going to see insane value, but that doesn't necessarily mean Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a terrible investment either. It just means that it's on very different levels, and depending on what type of return you're really looking to get. The one area in which I really do disagree with that statement is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Does hold up well to time. It's just only the chase cards that do. So, again, if you're picking up a Ghost Rare when it comes out for $60, $70 pre-sale price or whatever it was back in the day, and you're holding it, you're sitting on it now, you know, you look at your Shooting Star Dragon, and the cheapest near mint is going to be around $375. So, over time, you've made a decent return on your investment over 10 years. But that depends on how many you had, how much you spend, and whether or not you're really looking to make thousands upon thousands of dollars, because if so, I'll straight out tell you that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not the game, but that doesn't mean the investment turnarounds can't be good. Let's jump ahead a tiny bit in this, because I think this is where I start to get a little frustrated.
Same thing with, especially with the older sets and whatnot. Like, even just, I want to talk about rarities for, like, a little bit here.
Okay.
So, like, rarities is just one of those things in a lot of card games where you're like, oh, it's high rarity, you know, it's going to have high value. You know, we got Pokemon, we have, the full arts and stuff like that. You have Magic, you have the Mythics and stuff like that. Sometimes they hold their value for, like, really long periods of time. And then you have Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you have, like, something like a secret rare, which you think would be for, like, some of the better cards in the set. And you're lucky to maybe get one good secret out of the 16 secrets in a set.
Okay, so let's just interject here. First of all, there's never been 16 secrets in a set unless it's an all-foil set. Second of all, there's never been sets that have typically no secrets with value. Obviously, like you said, there's like the one or two. So I say even if you look at Rise of the Duelist as an example, you've got 1, 2, 3 secret rares that are around the $60 to $70 mark, you know, give or take. Obviously, the Starlight's exceptions. But all the other secret rares have mid-range value. And even Adamancipator Friends, which is a secret rare that's not good at all and is kind of worthless, is $1.60 versus his statement.
And the secrets that you do pull are worth, like, a penny. A literal penny.
Hey, it's my lucky day! A penny!
I don't think I've ever seen a secret rare in Yu-Gi-Oh! Worth a penny. And I understand, like, he's being dramatic, but he's also then using the word literal. So it's a penny. It's a literal penny. That's not valid. So, like, you're making yourself look uncredible with these statements because I don't care if you've played the game for, like, 40 years or whatever. Secret rares are... There's 10 per box. There was 8 per box before that. Other times there had been, I think, maybe Force of the Breaker and Strike of Neos maybe had 12. I don't remember the exact numbers. But my point is, you're presenting all of this as fact, as the so-called expert on this video, and instead, you're coming across like your argument automatically loses validity because you don't even know what you're talking about. So, there's not 16 per set. There's not 1 cent secret rares. Because honestly, if there were, they'd probably be worth investing in because they're going to go up over time just based on the fact that they're a penny. So, like, that's invalid. That immediately tells me that, like, you're just spitballing numbers and you are being dramatic for the sake of being dramatic, but you're not presenting with good credibility. And that hurts my overall appeal of watching this here. All right, moving on.
It's frustrating. As someone, I do not play Yu-Gi-Oh! Anymore, full disclaimer.
Great, awesome, great. I mean, that definitely helps with, you know, the whole... Is investing a good idea? I don't play, so yeah, and then, you know, you bring on the expert who doesn't know how many secret rares are in a set, but that's fine, let's keep
I got out of that quite a while ago, but I kept my collection for a while. Another issue with Yu-Gi-Oh!, especially as an investment, or as just someone who wants you know, I always say, yes, investment, I use that term, and some people don't like that, but what I'm saying is also, it's a good idea if you're going to spend your hard-earned paycheck on something that you love and you want to collect for years, that it's still something that can be a parachute for you in case you need it years down the line. You know, I would much rather have, you know, spent my money collecting rare Pokemon cards in the 90s than Beanie Babies.
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's about right. Two things here. For one, yeah, Beanie Babies, I think a lot of people back in the day thought they were going to have insane value, and they were sort of like the hot flavor. Kind of like Funko Pops are now, where a lot of people talk about it. And obviously, Funko Pops have seen some longevity, but Beanie Babies were around for a while, too. This, again, goes back to the whole aspect of the risks that come with investing of any kind. Back in the day, Pokemon was big, but it's grown now into this global, probably one of the largest, most recognizable entities in the world. And over time, Pokemon's growth does not slow down. There's new games, there's new merch, there's new fans. The more young children are born, the more people are going to get into Pokemon, and the cycle continues. And they've had insane longevity. So looking at it to say, yes, when you were younger, if you wanted to make money and have a parachute later in life, you could have bought Pokemon cards. But in the 90s, if, when most of us, a lot of us were kids or maybe younger, and we're all playing card games, Pokemon is, we weren't thinking about it like, hey, we're going to buy these things for that. We're thinking about it like, hey, we're going to buy these and play with them with our friends. And most of us probably fucking bent the cards, dinged the cards, or traded them away at school or whatever. Obviously, the types of things that go along with that type of collector's market. So comparing Beanie Babies and Pokemon as a parachute investment that's going to help you in life, you're better off going with stocks, realistically. I don't think any of these are going to be solid long-term investments unless you, A, have insane amounts of capital to play with, and you have base sets of Pokemon or things you've been holding on for literal years and have been lucky enough to either not have to sell them, not to have anything happen to them, whatever, or if you just aren't interested in the stock aspect of it and you really just want to kind of hold on to it. So, yes, Pokemon is always going to be huge, and Pokemon is the best, probably, long-term investment, although Magic is big. It's just Magic has that, like, upper echelon of, beta, alpha cards that have never been reprinted and other scattered cards along the way, and then there's a big dip, whereas Pokemon, it just seems to gain more traction pricing-wise over time. That's another debate for another video. Let's jump a little bit further.
Or split it apart and take the hassle, so that's something you have to factor in. Now, let's talk about some positives in investing in Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't think there are ever really cases where standard Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards in a booster set are worth investing in. Pretty much never.
No.
But
So, I disagree with that. Alright, so let's take a look here then at something like Appaloosa. Now, obviously, no one really knew exactly how Starlights were going to shake out, right? Because there were a lot of things with, when they first came out, sort of uncertainty in how the concept was going to work, whether or not people were going to take to it, what the pull ratios were going to be, etc. But for the longest time, when Appaloosa was out, and it's been about a year since Rising Rampage released, so when Appaloosa came out, you could get the Starlight Rare around $350 to $450 in that range, and I don't know the exact number, which is why I'm sort of giving that range. Now, at the cheapest, despite reprints, by the way, so Appaloosa is getting reprinted in Gold Series, Maximum Gold, as well as the Megatins, which come out in a couple weeks. The main version of Appaloosa has dropped, yes, and it's like $50, and it wasn't a good long-term investment, unless you picked them up cheap and then flipped them for $90, but that's quick turnaround investing, and that's not great. The cheapest first edition Nearman Appaloosa is around $1,000. So if 1 year ago you spent $400 or even $450 to buy this, and you just held it, obviously probably didn't play it, because that's just risking damage to the card, now you're looking at a card that's doubled, a little bit more than doubled in value over time. So in short-term Yu-Gi-Oh!, this card, if you bought it at $450 and had the capital to make that investment, you can now sell it for $1,000 and get a $500 return on your investment. Every Starlight Rare's existence, and even like the 10,000 Dragon and Utopia, which are relatively new, so they're going to take a little while before they get there, but the existence of these cards in general is going to be good investments over time. That's why you see the prices so skewed, because sealed products, sealed boxes of Rising Rampage, Chaos Impact, two sets that realistically are not that good outside of Starlights, have gone up in value over time, because the less of them that are left and the more chances that those could down the road have Starlights cracked, people want them. Collectors want them. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has established more of a collector's market ever since A, Konami made the change for vendor policies where they could sell items over 100, and B, Starlights actually started selling at that price, 300, 400. People are looking at it and say, well, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players will actually spend this kind of money on these cards, so let's see how much we can go. And then you get cards like 10,000 Dragon that's $1,200. So, short-term Yu-Gi-Oh!, even for something like this, with the existence of Starlights, with the existence of changes in the game, does bring a lot of potential for flips. Now, I don't know what Appaloosa is going to look like in 5 years. If the game is still going strong and these Starlights don't get reprinted again, you could very well see this card have higher growth, just like you've seen with tournament pack cards, with Astral pack cards, with I don't want to count jump promos because those are a little bit different. Not like the manga book, but I mean the actual like SJC, YCS promos, whatever. Those are kind of different. But This card that exists in a core set has value, you can pull it. Appaloosa is one of those. So there's no way of knowing how this is going to shake out, but I'm just countering this point of short-term investment. Appaloosa went from $450 when it released to about $1,000 now in a year. That's short-term. And it's played in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's still a current meta card, so that argument is just not valid.
There are still opportunities in Yu-Gi-Oh! You look at the people who bought, say... what's a good example? I had one in my head, and then I
Probably should have maybe written it down or something. I don't know.
lost it.
Would you like me to bring up something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Alright, so I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Since 2002, so I've come and gone between the ages. I've never really stuck in an era too long. I've always, like, kind of dropped out halfway through, like, a format or something because I got tired of all the...
Very common.
Very common. But it was never more than, like, 6 months at a time or something. So I've seen, like, Pendulums, like, ruin the entire format. I've seen Links and the extra linking, and Firewall was unbanned for way too long.
Invest in Firewall Dragon.
I think it's like 25 cents now. It's actually really funny.
All right, so A, you're wrong. B, it's not. And C, it wasn't that funny. But let's just kind of break that down a little bit. They're not wrong. There's been times throughout the history of the game, and I've been playing since 2003, so going on 17 years, there's been times where I've taken a hiatus from Yu-Gi-Oh! There's been times where I got bored of the game, I got generally disinterested with the meta. That happened during True Draco, that happened during Dragon Ruler format, that happened for me during Spiral format. So it's okay to take some time away from the game. I mean, when you've played the game as long as many in the community have, you always are going to come back to it in some form or fashion. That's, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been great at making a lot of friends, people I know personally, connections I know online, through doing YouTube and everything else, so I definitely have a lot of appreciation for the game as a whole because of those things. But on Firewall, first of all, I don't know that anyone was saying, buy Firewall, it's going to be a great investment. I mean, Firewall Dragon at its peak was like a $40 to $50 card. It was always kind of good, absolutely nutty, did a lot of stupid shit. He's saying Firewall's 25 cents now, and I just want to point out here, these are all the printings of Firewall, all two. One of them is about 8, give or take. One of them is around 5. Now, this is kind of, you may be like, wow, why are you nitpicking? Again, another case of not having any idea what you're talking about. For someone who's an expert who's played the game that long to come in there and start dropping that information saying, yeah, now it's a quarter. Had you said now it's only a couple bucks, had you said now it's only around $5, yeah, I probably would have let that go. But the truth of it is, you don't know what you're talking about. So again, hurts your overall credibility. And that's awesome that you saw Goki, which was just a shit format. But that doesn't mean anyone was saying invest in Firewall Dragon. People were not saying invest in Firewall Dragon, and if they were, you probably shouldn't have listened to them, because that was just a risky investment overall. So, again, any card that's, A, broken like that and has potential to get hit, investing in that's going to be risky. Obviously, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta changes, sometimes things do come back, cards can spike, but you're playing a huge game at that point to say, well, this card is good, but if it gets banned and then comes off, it's going to go back up again. You're not really looking to... You're more so looking at it as like a daily stock or something you constantly update rather than something you're just going to pick up and hold. No one was saying pick up Firewall Dragons, put them in a vault somewhere, and hold them. That wasn't a thing. No one was doing that. So I just wanted to clarify that. No one was saying. All right, back to the video. We're going to skip ahead to 9:15 where we get a really interesting comment.
Later, it was still a good deck, even nowadays. But the big thing is that all the salads have been like reprinted maybe 3-4 times, so even budget players can pick up like all the high rarity stuff.
So he's referring to Salamangreats here, saying all the Salamangreat cards have been reprinted like 3 or 4 times. That is just inaccurate. So a few Salamangreat cards have been reprinted, that being Gazelle, which was an Ultra, and Sunlight Wolf has gotten a couple of reprints, but everything else from the Salamangreat deck that's like even remotely decent, whether that's Circle or Spinny or any of the other ones, have not been reprinted. Like they were in the structure deck, and then some of them got foil bumps in other cards. That's it. There's not 1,000 reprints of Salamangreat cards. Now, if they were cheap, realistically, everything other than Sunlight Wolf has always been affordable, so it's kind of a weird example to use anyway, but no idea what you're talking about here. Salamangreat cards have not been reprinted 3 to 4 times, except for a select few, which were already cheap. Gazelle's at 1. Sunlight Wolf was, you know, a decent value rare, then it came out as a super, now it's an ultra. Sunlight Wolf is accessible. Anyone that wants a Sunlight Wolf probably has a Sunlight Wolf at this point, and it may get reprinted again in the Megatins, but this has all been spaced out over the course of a year and a half, and it's just another case of misinformation being frustrating. Okay, so, I'm going to skip to the next part of the video now, where he's going to make a point that just drives me nuts, okay, in regards to Triple Tactics talents. I'm going to let you guys hear this one in full, because I can't really do it justice. Let's just listen to the logic behind this statement.
Jackie and Heavy Storm in a single card. But now you go back and look at the price of Regeki, and Regeki's like a $5 card now. At, like, high rarity.
Incorrect. So, Regeki has a lot of prints. The quote-unquote high-rarity variants of Regeki, being the Ultimate Rare and the, original Super, as well as the Retro Pack editions, are all, like, $50 plus. So, that's not valid. And second of all, Lightning Storm did not tank Regeki's price. Regeki was not seeing play before Lightning Storm came out. Harpy Solar Duster is banned. Even if Harpy Solar Duster does come off the list, it will spike in value regardless of Lightning Storm's existence. But Lightning Storm did not impact Regeki. It had no impact on Regeki, in fact, because people were not playing Regeki because it's kind of meh at this point. Regeki could probably come off the list entirely and not make much of a difference. So again, the high-rarity copies of Regeki, OTS Ulti and Retro Pack Super and... Retro Pack Ultra and Legend of Blue Eyes Super, all value. They all still have value. They're collector's cards, not at all impacted by Lightning Storm. But this is the point he makes here, that you just gotta...
Same thing. It's like now we have, there's a card that's coming out, it's a spell card, I can't remember what it's called. But essentially, it's 3 banned cards in one. It's like the Forceful Sentry, and like 2 other ones I can't remember, Exchange of Heart or something. But it was like 3 banned cards in one, and I'm like, why are these still banned then?
Hey, pal. You just blowing from Stupid Town?
Okay, so, let's just take a second here. Okay, so, his logic here is they're making a card. He's referring to Triple Tactics Talent from Rise of the Duelists. Just came out, right? So that's 3 cards in one. You've got Pot of Greed, you've got Forceful Sentry, and you've got Change of Heart. His logic is, if you can print Triple Tactics Talent, why are those other 3 cards banned? Because they're fucking broken. What do you mean? So, like, the idea is not that those cards are so good that we're just going to put them all on one card and bring them back. You've got a card like TTT, which is completely restrictive in the sense that it's entirely dependent on your opponent, and you only get to use one of those effects, and it's a hard once per turn. So you're not going to play 3 Pot of Greed in your deck. You're not going to play 3 Change of Heart. You're not going to play 3 Forceful Sentry. And realistically, you're probably not going to resolve more than 1 tactics in a game, unless you're, for some reason, in some unreasonably long game. But that makes 0 sense to me. So it's like, you take a card effect that's banned. That's the whole purpose of recreating cards. That's why Hate Trunade came out. So if Hate Trunade came out, why did we just unban Giant Trunade? We literally made Hate Trunade because we cannot unban Giant Trunade. Just like Tactics is taking those cards and giving them, those effects as a bit of a wink-wink to players. Look at these throwback cards we're putting on here, but setting up a scenario where it takes a lot of resource for you to actually be able to use it. That's the point of the card. So, yes, it's a card that is inspired by banned cards, but no, we shouldn't unban those cards because we're not monkeys and we're not looking to completely degenerate the game. So, just, again, the logic makes no sense. Back to the video.
I would not recommend you to still do that. To be clear, the money has been made. There's no way they're going to go up in value past what they're at. There's no way someone's going to be willing to pay 20 grand for Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon sealed box when that same amount of money can get you multiple revised boxes.
Okay, so people may not pay 20 grand for a Blue Eyes White Dragon sealed box. However, people will pay about 14 grand, give or take. So the idea that these boxes that you bought for like $1 grand, $2 grand are never going to sell are just not valid. I mean, this is one of 3 sold listings I found on eBay of sealed English First Ed booster boxes of LOB, and they sell for high prices. Yes, they don't sell for 20K. And honestly, if you have 20K to just blow on trading cards, I'm going to tell you, go spend it on Pokemon. Go invest it in either like Silver and Gold era sets or anything with Gold Stars or any of the originals prior to that. Your money is going to be better protected in Pokemon there. However, the logic here is that, well, yeah, it's only going to be a couple thousand that people are going to pay on LOB boxes. That information does not match up with what the survey says. I have found multiple instances of boxes selling for around 14K, which is not 20, but in context, it's close enough to make the point that he's making be completely invalid. So, just wanted to throw that out there. This is frustrating me. All right, we're skipping ahead a little bit here because they just kind of go on about some other stuff, and then, talking about the investments. Let's go to 1230.
And now you go back to it, it's like $2.
There's a bunch of other interesting promo cards. You've got the classic example of video game promos.
Yep.
I mean, look at the Dark Duel Story cards.
Whew.
But I think a lot of them are just underrepresented because they're all dirt cheap. They're mini video game promos that are just under $1. And you can just-
Okay, so can you show me where? Because I actually went ahead and pulled up the list of video game promos, and I'm looking for the many that are under $1. Of course, unless you're only looking at damaged and not doing research, but Harpy's Feather Duster, Secret Rare, World Championship 2004, that is a $40 card at the cheapest, although, you know, as much as they are not in stock, so that's kind of irrelevant. Warm Worm, a literally terrible card from a Tag Force game that was somewhat limited on release, is $15-ish at the cheapest for Lightly Played Unlimited, and I bet you that if you go into Near Mint, it's probably a bit more. They're around 17, 18. But let's not just use 2 numbers as fact there. Let's take a look at Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth. Terrible card, no point. Let's go to Near Mint. Let's find out where the Near Mints are. About 30 bucks. Let's just, you know, keep on scrolling down there. You find a bunch of other things. My point is, video game promos are actually not that cheap. The only video game promos you're going to get that are relatively low and are, you know, things from the game that came out on the Switch recently because they just reprinted those promos. But all of the older ones are either going up or staying where they are. Anything Prismatic Secret, whether it's the DDS stuff, even the CRU Salamandra and stuff from the US version of that, that came out after the OG, you know, with Blue Eyes and Dark Magician, that is all up in value. And then on top of that, you have video game promos from even the 5Ds era that maybe weren't that good, but still have value. So not many of them are $1, in fact. Maybe a handful. I'm not going to pretend that, like, Cynet Codec and some of the other ones from the more recent games are not only a couple bucks, but you're not finding video game promos at $1 anymore. Not DDS, I'm sorry, Jules the Rose's Magnet Warriors, the Prismatics, all value. They touch on this in the video, too, that he found some in a case or whatever, which is awesome. I'm happy for him. But it's not accurate. So why am I going to take the investment advice here from somebody who doesn't even know the basics of what they're talking about with this game? And I'm a little bit less hesitant to criticize the guy hosting the show because he did sort of state that he hasn't played in a long time, but you're still bringing on an expert, quote unquote, that really doesn't know what he's talking about ultimately. So let's jump in. There's a few more points in this video I wanted to sort of hit on before we wrap it up here, and my brain explodes. So let's go to this one.
Several $100.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Oh, I need to look this up later.
I am not joking.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah, look it up. So maybe go through your collection and see. Just check all your Bubble Mans.
Bubble Man, what's this? I've never seen this set before.
But there are a lot of things.
So, they were talking about the Mattel Bubble Man promo there. For those of you who don't know, it was released with an action figure. It's very expensive and very, very limited. I've seen one in person once. A buddy of mine used to work at a card shop, and they got one in trade. Of course, it's very expensive. It didn't really sell. I think they had to put it on eBay because as much as it is a extremely rare card and does command a high value, it's not something that a lot of casual people are going to, spend the money on. You're not going to find Bubble Man in your bulk. Don't waste your time. Like, let's be honest. And again, another example of, like, very selective type of... Okay, so there's a card that's like $700 that was released as like a Toys R Us exclusive action figure that accompanied it. No one that was investing was going to Toys R Us back in the day and buying Bubble Man with the thought that they were going to make money off that promo. No one was doing that. So, just for the record, to put that out there.
Like PC games. And not I can't remember for which ones. I think I had one of each growing up. So I actually had them as like box top promos. And I specifically remember having one with the Magnet Warriors. I had all 3 like Magnet Warriors and then the Valkyrion. And instead of doing whatever I wanted with them, I just left them in the box. Completely forgot about it.
And technically, isn't leaving in the box still doing whatever you wanted with them?
Years later, I found them going through my old game cabinet, and I'm like, oh, what's this? Open them, and they weren't like warped in any way, shape, or form or anything. And I'm like, I wonder what the price on some of these. And I'm just going through like the listings on TCG Player or something, and I'm like, wow, like near mint is like $25 for a.
But wait, I thought video game promos weren't value. You're directly contradicting your own statements by saying video game promos don't have any worth, and then also saying, oh yeah, look at my Magnet Warriors are $20. Okay, next.
Is buying stocks. Yu-Gi-Oh's playing the lottery.
Yu-Gi-Oh's playing the lottery because you said go out and buy a bunch of packs. That is literal gambling. I do it quite frequently for this channel. I'll put some links in the description below if you want to check out some of those openings I've done more recently. You can't be that selective with your reporting. It's not gambling if you're picking your investments intelligently. All types of investments carry risk. Magic carries risk. Granted, it's more proven. Magic has a more proven track record, so those collectible cards like Tarmogoyf and the thousands of Jaces they reprint, and Force of Will, and Mana Crypt, and Mana Vault, and all that shit, more than likely all of those copies will hold value, but some will exceed others, and you're not always going to know whether or not you're going to get your value on those. So that's completely unrelated. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is no different when you're investing in singles, you're just looking at a lower return.
Honestly, if you haven't seen Rav Card's videos and stuff like that, it's based off Nim Nim's venture into like metahood and building decks.
All right, so I won't waste your time with this whole section of the video here. Basically, he talks about Nim Nim's like sealed only challenge and how some other people have sort of done similar things where you build a deck based out of nothing but buying packs every week. You spend a set amount of money, whatever. The complaint they're making here is that yeah, so this guy spent like $900 or $1,000 on sealed product over the course of weeks, and his collection, he was at a loss after like 10 weeks. And that to that I say no shit. You're gambling again. You're talking about the gambling aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh! So yes, if you're going into Yu-Gi-Oh! And you're buying all these packs over and over again, and you're taking them and you're putting them in a binder and hoping that you pull well, most often that's not going to happen. You guys saw my Eternity Code opening I did on the channel. 32 packs I bought. I didn't pull a single secret rare. I made a huge loss on that. Buddy of mine had the same thing happen with Rise of the Duelist. Bought out an entire Walmart stock. It was like 35 packs. Didn't pull a single secret. You will lose money gambling on Yu-Gi-Oh! Packs, but you will also lose money gambling on Magic and Pokemon packs unless you have a horseshoe shoved up your ass. So that idea that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is different because you're going out and you're buying booster packs and taking a loss. Yes, I'll tell you, I am not an investment advisor, but what I will tell you is this. If you go out and spend $1,000 on sealed booster packs, there is a 99.9% chance you lose money on that. Do not recommend.
The wrong way for this place. But those of you who understand what I'm talking about.
All right. Here's a genius move. Big brain move right here. Let's
deploying product and not getting what you want and still missing stuff, something's not right.
Or I guess another good example for it. It's like shorting on Tesla stock. That's
You care to elaborate on that for me?
might be a little nerdy in the wrong way for this place. But those of you
No, not nerdy. Just doesn't make any sense. So I don't understand what you're saying at all. What does Tesla stock have to do with anything in this particular video? Yeah, you buy stock of Tesla, Elon Musk says something stupid, the stock goes down, then they put out a new product, the stock goes back up. But the correlation other than that is like 0 to 0. I don't get it. I don't get what you're saying there. Again, brilliant investment advisors though. Let's go.
who understand what I'm talking about, you know. Man, I like Yu-Gi-Oh! I also really can't stand Yu-Gi-Oh! At the same time.
It's a love-hate relationship, honestly.
I have made the personal decision to not buy any more Yu-Gi-Oh! And
To be fair, I've learned the same thing.
But I'm not gonna diss someone who's hardcore into it. I get it, man. But just understand that your collection's probably not gonna be worth $1 million.
I figured that out years ago.
Are you kidding me? So, Dr. Evil over here tells us that the collection's not going to be worth $1 million. Because, I gotta be honest with you, I thought it was. Until I got to 1628 in this video, and then I realized it's not. So, I'm glad they cleared that up. I can also affirm that is an accurate statement. So, if you invest in Yu-Gi-Oh!, there is a very low chance of you having $1 million collection. Unless, I guess, you buy, like, 1 million cards that are all worth $1, in which case your collection is worth $1 million. But, no, like, it's so stretching the goalposts here. Like, and I don't mean to flame him, because I get where he's coming from in terms of saying, like, I'm not going to flame people, whatever. No shit, you're not going to have $1 million collection, especially not in the short term, and that's insane. Like, the most expensive Yu-Gi-Oh! Card that I'm aware of, which is, I believe, either one of the SJC promos or the Sinister Serpent, which was like a special promo from Japan, one of those guys, is about $3,000 to $4,000. You've got SJC Cyberstein, you've got Crush Carbarus. You're not going to hit $1 million. It's going to take you a while to hit $1 million in Pokemon even, unless you've been collecting since the game came out and you just hoarded Charizards and shit. But no one's looking at Yu-Gi-Oh! As $1 million return on investment. That doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It doesn't mean you're not going to make money. It doesn't mean you can't make money. It does mean you're not going to make $1 million, true, but that's not what this video is supposedly about at all. All right, last couple bits here.
Investing is, oh hey, all the old school original Yu-Gi-Oh! Packs are worth tons of money, so now it's the GX packs time to shine.
No, it's not. It's called hero format, and that's
I
pretty
will
much
say,
right now.
I'll give you one hot tip, because this is what I would have done if I had cared more. Buy old school Ultimate Rares.
Riveting. Truly riveting. That's the best investment advice you've given me in this video.
I mean, have you learned with Ghost Rares? I mean, those disappeared. Everyone really wanted them. Now you can go back and get, like, a Ghost Rare, like...
Personally,
Moon...
I hate Ghost Rares.
So do I.
Nice! But yeah, go back. If they're, like, exclusive rarities like that, maybe some of the original...
What is this kid talking about here? Ghost Rares have no value? Ghost Rares went up, and then they're cheap as shit now. I would like to point out that the cheapest Ghost Rare is literally a garbage Boojin monster from Primal Origin, and the cheapest one that you can purchase is $35 for Unlimited. That is a card that will never see play. Every single Ghost Rare has spiked immensely, and certain ones have peaked to insane amounts. If you look, I mean, the Dark Magician Girl is sort of a bit of an exception. If you look at Stardust Dragon Ghost Rare, and you try to find a first ed copy, you're not finding one under about $1,500. So, none of what you're saying makes any damn sense. The Ghost Rares dropped, disappeared, and now they're super cheap. I would like to know where he's probably going online, finding them on, like, Wish. Like, oh, Chinese Ghost Rares, I could get them for $1. It's again, just comes back to the whole idea that you don't know what you're talking about. You can't be a self-proclaimed expert and have incorrect facts, because that's not how it works. And this is the last little bit of it.
Premium gold cards, not the later ones, because they look ugly.
No, they're really bad.
But the original
Agreed. Although I don't think we're talking about the same thing.
ones, go for it. Some Ultimate Rares, especially if it's something that's still played today, go for it.
That used to be my case with Burning Abyss. I used to love the deck, and like 90% of it only came in the Premium Gold Collection.
That's also inaccurate. 90% of Burning Abyss did not only come in the Premium Gold Collection. Actually, I did a little bit of research quickly before we went into this. One Burning Abyss card, that being Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal, came exclusively in Premium Gold Collection. Everything else was in core sets. So this Dunderhead has no idea the statistical basis on which his reporting is coming from, and it triggers me to the moon, because you want to present a video that people are going to pick up on this, like the dopes that watch the videos on Facebook about how your old Yu-Gi-Oh cards, like Pinch Hopper, could be worth like $5,000 or something, and they're going to get this idea in their head that everything in this video is like by law, and it's just not. And again, I'm not hating on the guy hosting the video, because I think he's a good dude. He made it very clear that he, and I would recommend maybe checking out his other content. He seems knowledgeable. But this expert, quote unquote, has zero idea what he's talking about. And it's a 20-minute video, and I nitpicked about not even half of it based on the comments that he made. But when you come to the table as someone who is supposedly knowledgeable and has played this game for a long time, and you just have the most incorrect, inaccurate, unresearched information, or you just don't give a shit, it sends a bad message to the rest of the player base, and also misrepresents what some people may be looking for. I am not gonna advise you go out and invest in Yu-Gi-Oh! Hardcore. But if you want to pick up side sets like Legendary Duelist, or things that don't typically get reprinted, or you want to pick up Starlights, Ghost Rares, Ultis, and you can get them at a good price, especially when they release, then do it. But A, be aware of the risks. B, understand that investments can always be a gamble. Even if something seems great, there's a chance it could tank. They could decide 10 years down the road that nothing has value anymore, because when you really think about it, the game only has value as long as we, as the player base and collectors, give it value. But do it with your own educated information. Unlike this gentleman, do your research. Know what things are priced at. Know what you're into. Know what you're getting into. Know what sets your cards come from. And make sure you're making educated decisions is really all I'm saying. Because going into something like investing, in general, there are many outlets that are better than Yu-Gi-Oh! There are stocks, there are comics, there are Pokemon, I don't know how good Magic is in terms of investments unless you got into it a while ago, but even then there's people who could tell you about that much better than I can. What I'll leave you with is this. Don't buy into just misinformation, especially when it comes to those types of investment things, because there is a lot of things in Yu-Gi-Oh! That could work out to your benefit, especially in a short-term thing. So do your research, know what you're talking about, and if you want to make the investments, just make sure you're making smart ones, and that you're paying attention to prices so that you know, A, if you should move something and flip it to make a profit while you can, or B, if something you should sit on and not expect anything out of it for a while. That being said, guys, thanks so much for watching the video. Again, I don't intend to flame these guys. That was not what I was going for here, but this video is just it made me so frustrated as someone who's played for a long time. And the idea that they're presenting all of this as like fact when most of it's not even correct is just through the moon. So hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. Definitely, like I said, you know, if you want to check out their other content, by all means. I can't say I'd recommend it, but check it out. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll talk soon.